The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched my mother-in-law's perfectly manicured fingers unwrap my gift. The entire room seemed to hold its breath, not out of anticipation, but from second-hand embarrassment. I'm Emily, and this was the moment I'd been waiting for, though none of them knew it yet. "Oh, how crafty," Patricia said, her voice dripping with the same condescension I'd endured for the past 5 years. She held up the handmade photo album, bound in Italian leather, I'd carefully selected and adorned with hand-painted details of the family estate. Samantha, my sister-in-law, didn't even try to hide her snicker. "Did you get that from Etsy, Emily? Or maybe make it in your little craft room?" I forced a smile, feeling my husband Reed shift uncomfortably beside me. "Actually, I made it myself. I collected photos from everyone's social media and family archives. There's even some rare ones from when you were kids that your father's secretary helped me find." "How resourceful," Patricia said, barely glancing at the pages before setting it aside. She reached for the next gift, a distinctive orange Hermes box that made her eyes light up. "This one's from me, Mother," Samantha announced, shooting me a triumphant look. "I remembered how much you loved mine." The room erupted in appreciative murmurs as Patricia unveiled another Birkin bag, her third by my count. The party guests, scattered around the marble-floored conservatory, nodded approvingly. I took another sip of champagne, noting how the crystal caught the light from the chandelier overhead. "Darling, you shouldn't have," Patricia gushed, her earlier disdain forgotten. "Bradley, look what your daughter got me." My father-in-law barely looked up from his phone but managed a distracted, "Wonderful, dear." "Emily." Gillian, my other sister-in-law, sidled up to me. "Don't feel bad. We can't all afford to give such elaborate gifts. I remember my first Christmas here. Talk about sticker shock." "I'm fine, Gillian," I replied, watching Reed drift away to chat with some cousins. Always drifting away when things got uncomfortable. "The album really is unique," she continued, twirling her pearl necklace. "Though, maybe next year we should go shopping together. I know some great consignment shops that carry last season's designer pieces." I checked my phone discreetly. 9:47 p.m. Landon would be receiving my final confirmation email right about now. "Emily," Patricia's voice cut through my thoughts. "Since you're so good with crafts, perhaps you could help the staff clean up these wrapping papers." Samantha's laugh tinkled like broken glass. "Mother, she's not the help. Though I suppose old habits die hard, right, Emily?" I stood up straighter, smoothing down my dress. Not designer, but tailored perfectly to my measurements. "You're right, Samantha. Old habits do die hard. Speaking of which, how's the family company doing? Still relying on those connections your father made in the 80s? The smile froze on her face. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing at all." I smiled, watching Bradley step outside to take a phone call, his forehead creased with worry. "Just making conversation." "Reed," Patricia called out, "come control your wife. She's being difficult again." Reed approached, that familiar, conflicted look on his face. Maybe we should head home. You seem tired." "Actually," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I'd love to stay. Tomorrow's going to be such an interesting day. Wouldn't want to miss family breakfast." Patricia raised her perfectly groomed eyebrows. "Oh, and what's so special about tomorrow?" I raised my glass in a mock toast. "Let's just say I have another gift for you, one that's been years in the making." "More crafts?" Samantha snorted. "Something like that." I finished my champagne and set the glass down carefully. "Something that will really bring this family together." Reed touched my arm. "Emily, what are you talking about?" I patted his hand. "Patience, honey. Good things come to those who wait. And I've waited 5 years for this moment." The room had grown quieter, attention shifting our way. Bradley burst back in, his face ashen, phone clutched in his hand. He whispered something to Patricia, whose eyes widened slightly. "Is everything all right, Father?" I asked innocently. He forced a smile. Of course. Just business. Isn't it always?" I picked up my purse. "Well, this has been lovely. Happy birthday, Patricia. I do hope you'll take time to look through that album. Sometimes the most valuable things can't be bought at Hermès." As Reed and I walked to our car, he grabbed my arm. "What was that about?" I kissed his cheek. "Just wait until tomorrow, darling. I promise it'll be a breakfast to remember." The morning sun streamed through the McCormick Estate's floor-to-ceiling windows as the family gathered for breakfast. I arrived early, watching the staff arrange fresh flowers and set out silver serving trays. The calm before the storm. "Emily," Patricia's voice carried across the dining room. "I'm surprised you're here so early. Usually you're running late." "Wouldn't miss this for the world," I replied, stirring my coffee. "By the way, how did you sleep?" She paused, her hand tightening on her silk robe. "Not well, actually. Bradley was up all night making calls." "Business troubles?" I asked innocently. Before she could answer, Samantha burst in, followed by her husband and Gillian. "Mother, have you seen the news? Something's happening with the company's stocks." Bradley appeared, looking haggard in his usually immaculate suit. "Nothing to worry about, just market fluctuations." Fluctuations? Reed entered, his tie slightly crooked. "Father, I just got calls from 3 board members. They're saying—" "Not now," Bradley snapped, pulling out his phone. I watched them all take their seats, the tension thick enough to cut with the antique butter knife beside my plate. The staff began serving breakfast: eggs Benedict, fresh fruit, and pastries that nobody touched. "Remember when we had that lovely dinner last month?" Samantha said suddenly, her voice sharp. "When Emily told us all about her successful online boutique?" "The one that failed after 3 months," Gillian added helpfully. I smiled. "Yes, right after I sold it for a significant profit, though I guess nobody heard that part." "Sold it?" Reed looked at me. "You never mentioned that." "There's a lot I haven't mentioned, darling." I checked my watch. In fact, the dining room door opened. Enzo, the family company's CFO, rushed in, his face pale. "Mr. Bradley, sir, we have a situation. The lawyers are here." "Lawyers?" Patricia set down her fork. "What lawyers?" As if on cue, Landon walked in, followed by 2 associates. The room fell silent. "Good morning, everyone," Landon said, nodding at me briefly. "I have some documents that require immediate attention." Bradley stood up. "Now, see here." "Please, sit down," Landon continued smoothly, opening his briefcase. "These papers outline the recent acquisition of controlling interest in your company, along with necessary restructuring details." "Acquisition?" Samantha's voice rose. "What acquisition?" I took another sip of coffee. "That would be mine." The room exploded. Reed knocked over his orange juice. Patricia's face went white. Bradley lunged for the documents. "This is impossible," he sputtered, scanning the papers. "How did you—" "Shell companies," I explained calmly. "Strategic investments. Those market fluctuations you mentioned. That was me, buying up shares through various entities over the past 2 years." "You?" Samantha laughed hysterically. "You can barely run a boutique." "Actually," Landon interjected, "Mrs. Emily has quite an impressive portfolio of successful business acquisitions. The boutique was just a cover." Reed stared at me. "Emily, what have you done?" "What you all taught me to do," I replied. "Play the game. Think strategically. Isn't that what you always say, Patricia? Family legacy is everything." "This isn't what I meant," Patricia shrieked. No. I stood up slowly. "For 5 years, I've watched you all mock everything I do. My background, my efforts, my gifts. Well, Here's another gift for you. One that can't be wrapped in expensive paper or stored in a closet with that handmade album you didn't bother to open. Bradley's phone rang. He answered it, listened, then slowly sank into his chair. The board. They're backing her takeover. Of course they are, I said. They've seen the books. They know what's coming. The question is, did any of you? Gillian burst into tears. Samantha grabbed her phone, frantically typing. Patricia just sat there, staring at nothing. The documents require signatures, Landon announced. Today. Reed grabbed my arm. Emily, stop this. They're my family. I looked at him steadily. And what am I? You're... He faltered. Exactly. I turned to Landon. Please proceed with the paperwork. I believe there's also an eviction notice for the estate? The estate, Patricia found her voice. But this is our home. Was your home, I corrected. Company property, remember. You were so proud of that fact last Christmas. You can't do this, Samantha hissed. I walked to the door, then turned back. Actually, I can, and I did. Happy birthday, Patricia. Consider this my gift to the family legacy. As I left, I heard the chaos erupting behind me. Accusations, sobs, the rustle of legal papers, music to my ears. My phone buzzed. A text from Landon. Phase 1 complete. Ready for Phase 2? I typed back quickly. Absolutely. Let's show them what the poor relation can really do. The afternoon sun beat down on the estate's garden as I watched the family scramble like ants whose hill had been kicked over. Through the French doors, I could see Bradley pacing, phone pressed to his ear, while Patricia huddled with Samantha and Gillian, their designer outfits wrinkled from hours of crisis. Emily. Enzo approached me on the terrace, his usual confidence replaced by nervous energy. Can we talk? Of course. I gestured to a chair. About your position at the company, I assume? He loosened his tie. Look, I know things weren't always... when they told me to exclude you from meetings. Save it, I cut him off. Your loyalty was to them. I understand. The question is, where will your loyalty lie now? Before he could answer, Reed stormed out. Emily, we need to talk. Now. Excuse us, Enzo, I smiled. We'll discuss your future with the company later. Reed waited until Enzo left, then grabbed my arm. What's your endgame here? Humiliating my family? Destroying everything they've built? Everything they've built? I laughed. You mean everything they've squandered? Have you even looked at the company books? That's not the point. It's exactly the point, I snapped. While they were busy mocking my little businesses, I was watching them run their empire into the ground. The only difference is I did something about it. A commotion from inside drew our attention. Samantha was marching toward us, her mascara smeared. You think you've won? She snarled. You think you can just walk in here and take everything? Actually, I walked in here 5 years ago, I replied, when I married Reed. You all just never bothered to see me as anything but the poor girl who didn't belong. Because you don't belong, she jabbed a finger at my chest. You're nothing but a gold digger who got lucky. Lucky? I caught her wrist. You want to talk about luck? How lucky were you to be born into this family? To never have to work for anything? To judge everyone else while living off Daddy's reputation? Let go of me. She yanked her hand away. Reed, are you just going to stand there while she destroys everything? Reed looked between us, his face twisted with indecision. Same old Reed, always trying to please everyone. Mrs. Emily? A staff member appeared. Mr. Landon is here with the additional documents. Perfect timing. I straightened my jacket. Shall we go inside? I believe there are some asset transfers to discuss. The scene in the living room was chaos. Patricia was on the phone with her sister, Bradley was arguing with his lawyer, and Gillian was stress-eating chocolates from a crystal bowl. Everyone, please sit down, Landon announced, spreading documents across the antique coffee table. We need to discuss the transition timeline. Transition? Bradley's face reddened. This is theft. Actually, Landon replied calmly, it's a perfectly legal acquisition. Your signature from this morning made it official. You tricked me. No, your own negligence did that. I picked up a financial report. Would you like me to read out the list of questionable decisions you've made over the past decade? The missed opportunities? The nepotism? Patricia stood up suddenly. I want her out of this house. Now! Mother, Reed started. No! She pointed at me. This woman has corrupted our son, infiltrated our family, and stolen our legacy. I want her gone. I smiled. Actually, Patricia, as of noon today, this is my house, so if anyone's leaving, it's you. The room fell silent. Even the staff stopped pretending to dust. You can't be serious, Gillian whispered. Dead serious. I handed Landon another document. Please serve the eviction notices. Samantha lunged for her phone. I'm calling Uncle Robert. He'll stop this. Robert, from the board? I raised an eyebrow. He signed off on the takeover 2 hours ago, along with the rest of the board members who are tired of watching this family treat the company like their personal piggy bank. Reed grabbed my shoulders. Emily, please, think about what you're doing. I looked into his eyes, seeing real fear there for the first time. I have thought about it. For 5 years, I've thought about nothing else. Every snide comment, every exclusion, every time you stood by and said nothing, it all led to this moment. But they're family, he pleaded. No, Reed, they're your family. I was just the help, remember? The crafty girl who made photo albums instead of buying Birkin bags. I turned to address the room. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises. I suggest you start packing. As I walked out, Samantha's voice followed me. You'll regret this. We'll make you regret this. I paused at the door. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. Oh, and Patricia, do keep the photo album. Consider it a souvenir of the empire you lost. The next morning, I sat in Bradley's former office, my office now, watching the security feeds as moving trucks pulled up to the estate. The mahogany desk still held his personal items. Family photos, a gold pen set, remnants of a dynasty crumbling in real time. My phone buzzed. A text from Reed. Where are you? We need to talk. Before I could respond, Landon walked in. The press release is ready. Once we send it, there's no going back. Send it, I said, standing up. And call security. I expect we'll have visitors soon. Right on cue, shouting erupted from the hallway. Samantha burst in, waving her phone. Have you seen this? The stock is plummeting. People are selling everything. That's what happens when years of mismanagement come to light, I replied calmly. Don't worry, I'll stabilise it once the restructuring is complete. Restructuring? She laughed hysterically. Is that what you call destroying people's lives? Security appeared in the doorway, but I waved them off. Destroying lives? Like you destroyed mine at every opportunity. Tell me, Samantha, how many times did you call me the help behind my back? That's different. Or how about when you told the country club I wasn't qualified for membership? Or when you convinced Reed to skip my father's funeral because it wasn't in a suitable neighbourhood? Her face flushed. You're twisting things. No more twisting. I handed her a folder. Here's your severance package. Clean out your office by 5. My office? I'm a vice president. You're a liability, I corrected, with 0 qualifications except your last name. That ends today. The door flew open again. Patricia stormed in, followed by Bradley and Reed. You evil, calculating witch, Patricia spat. Do you know what you've done? The board is demanding Bradley's resignation. Good. I sat back down. They should have demanded it years ago. Bradley slammed his hands on the desk. This company is my life's work. No, I leaned forward. This company was your father's life's work. You just rode his coattails while running it into the ground. Emily. Reed's voice was quiet. Stop this, please. Why should I? I turned to him. Where was your please when they humiliated me? Where was your protection when your mother called me a gold digger at our own wedding? She? What? Landon looked up from his papers. Oh, yes, I continued. Right after the ceremony, she told me I'd trapped her son, that I'd never be good enough. Remember that, Patricia? Patricia's face went pale. I was upset. You were honest, I said. The only time you ever were. Well, now I'm being honest too. You're all fired. The company is mine. The house is mine. The legacy you were so proud of. Also mine. You can't, Samantha started. Actually, she can, Landon interrupted, passing out more documents. These detail the systematic financial mismanagement under your leadership. The board has already approved all changes. Reed picked up a paper, his hand shaking. Emily, you've been planning this for years. Since the day your mother told me I'd never belong. I met his eyes. Turns out she was right. I don't belong in your family. I belong in charge of it. Security appeared again. Mrs. Emily, the moving trucks are waiting. Perfect timing. I stood up. I believe you all have packing to do. Don't forget your precious Birkin bags, Patricia. They might be worth something when you need cash. This isn't over, Bradley threatened. Actually, it is. I nodded to security. Please escort them out and change the access codes once they're gone. As they were led away, Reed lingered. What about us? What about us? I echoed. You stood by for 5 years while they tore me down. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't care? I love you, he whispered. No. I shook my head. You love the idea of me, the quiet wife who took their abuse and smiled. That woman is gone. So, that's it? Revenge means more than our marriage? I walked to the window, watching his family being escorted to their cars below. This isn't just revenge, Reed. It's justice. It's consequences. Something your family never had to face before. And what about my consequences? He asked. You're looking at them. I turned back. Your things will be delivered to the guest house. I filed for divorce this morning. He stared at me for a long moment, then walked out without another word. Landon cleared his throat. The press is gathering outside. Would you like to make a statement? I straightened my jacket, checking my reflection in the window. Yes, it's time to tell our side of the story. All of it. The media storm hit like a hurricane. By evening, every news channel was running the story. Family empire toppled. Inside the hostile takeover that shocked society. I watched the coverage from my new office, sipping the same expensive scotch Bradley had always bragged about. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Enzo, clutching a stack of files. Emily, we have a situation. The overseas accounts, let me guess, they're empty? I smiled. Patricia already tried to transfer everything this morning. Landon blocked it. How did you know? Because I know them. I stood up, straightening my blazer. Schedule an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. It's time to show everyone exactly what this family has been hiding. My phone lit up with Gillian's name. Against my better judgment, I answered, Emily, please, she sobbed. They're saying we have to leave the country club. Samantha's children are being pulled from their private school. Everything's falling apart. Funny how quickly society turns, isn't it? I walked to the window. Remember last month when you all laughed at my cheap car? I'm sorry, we were wrong. Just, please, help us. Like you helped me? I watched a news van pull up outside. Goodbye, Gillian. The door opened again. Reed walked in, looking dishevelled. The divorce papers? Really? Did you expect something different? I kept my voice steady. After everything? I expected my wife to talk to me before destroying my entire family. He threw a newspaper on my desk. The headline screamed, "Society Families Fall from Grace." I tried talking. For 5 years, I tried. I pushed the paper back toward him. Remember last Christmas, when your mother announced she was cutting us out of the will because I wasn't suitable for inheritance? That was just Mom being Mom. No! I slammed my hand down. That was emotional abuse. That was systematic humiliation. And you stood there, silent like always. A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the glass walls, we could see Samantha being escorted out by security, screaming about her personal belongings. She's right about one thing, Reed said quietly. You've changed. I've grown. I sat back down. There's a difference. My phone buzzed, landing again. Turn on Channel 7. I grabbed the remote. Patricia was on screen, mascara running, giving an impromptu interview outside the estate gates. She tricked us, Patricia wailed. She pretended to be this simple, humble girl, but she was plotting all along. The reporter turned to the camera. Mrs. Patricia claims her daughter-in-law orchestrated a calculated takeover of the family business. The documents show years of financial mismanagement under the family's leadership. Sources say... I muted the TV. Your mother never could handle the spotlight well. This isn't just business anymore, Reed said. This is cruel. Cruel? I laughed. Like when they hired private investigators to dig up dirt on my family. Or when Samantha spread rumours about me sleeping my way into the marriage. I never knew about... Of course you did. I stood up, anger finally breaking through. You knew everything. You just chose to ignore it because it was easier than standing up to them. Security appeared at the door. Mrs. Emily, Mr. Bradley is attempting to enter the building. Don't let him in. I turned back to Reed. You should go. Your family needs you. They always have. And you don't? I needed you years ago. I opened the divorce papers. Now, I need you to sign these. He stared at them for a long moment. You know what the funny thing is? They were right about one thing. We never really knew you. No, I corrected. You never bothered to know me. There's a difference. After he left, I called Landon. How's the media strategy going? Perfect, he replied. The board is fully behind you. The stock's already stabilising. But what? Samantha's threatening to go public with some allegations. Says she has proof you manipulated company records. I smiled. Let her try. I have 5 years of recorded conversations that say otherwise. You recorded them? Every snide comment, every threat, every backroom deal. I looked at the photo of the family on Bradley's desk, my desk now. They taught me well, didn't they? Always keep evidence. The press wants an official statement, Landon said. Tell them I'll do one interview, tomorrow morning. It's time everyone learned who really built this empire and who tried to destroy it. As I hung up, another text from Reed appeared. My mother's being admitted to the hospital. Stress. Are you happy now? I typed back. Happiness was never the goal. Justice was. Then I turned off my phone and watched the sun set over the city I now controlled. The kingdom they'd built on arrogance was mine, built on something much stronger. Revenge served cold, calculated and complete. The morning news interview felt like a final nail in the coffin. I sat across from the reporter, wearing my sharpest suit, every word calculated. "So, Emily," the reporter leaned forward, "why did you do it?" "Simple," I replied, maintaining eye contact with the camera. The company was failing under their leadership. Someone had to save it, and the jobs of hundreds of employees. The family claims you deceived them. Did I? I smiled. Or did they deceive themselves into thinking they were untouchable? As soon as the interview ended, Landon rushed in. "We have a problem. Samantha's gone to the SEC with allegations." "Right on schedule," I said, checking my watch. "Time for phase 2. The elevator ride to the executive floor was interrupted at the lobby. Gillian stumbled in, looking frantic. "Emily, thank God! I have something you need to hear." "Let me guess. Samantha sent you?" "No." She grabbed my arm. "Listen, they're planning something. Bradley, he has connections with—" The elevator doors opened to reveal Samantha herself, standing with 2 men in suits. "Well," I said, stepping out, "this should be interesting." "Emily," one of the men stepped forward. "I'm from the Securities and Exchange Commission. We need to discuss some irregularities." "Of course." I gestured to my office. "Landon, bring in the files." Samantha's triumphant smile faltered as Landon wheeled in a cart loaded with documents. "What's this?" she demanded. "Evidence," I replied simply. "Every illegal transaction, every manipulated report, every instance of insider trading for the past decade, all with signatures, dates, and witnesses." The SEC investigators' eyes widened as they began flipping through the papers. "You're bluffing," Samantha sputtered. "Am I?" I pulled out a USB drive. "This contains recordings of your father discussing market manipulation with board members. Would you like to hear them?" Gillian backed away. "Samantha, what did you do?" "What? I had to!" Samantha shrieked. "We were losing everything." "Mrs. Emily?" One investigator looked up. "How long have you been collecting this evidence?" "Since the day Patricia told me I'd never understand their world." I sat down at my desk. Turns out, I understood it better than they did. Security appeared at the door. "Mom, Mr. Bradley is here with his lawyer." "Perfect timing," I nodded. "Send them in." Bradley burst in, his face red. "You think you can threaten us with fake evidence?" "Fake?" I pressed play on my computer. His voice filled the room. "Of course it's illegal, but who's going to catch us? We own the regulators." The colour drained from his face. "That's from last year's Christmas party," I explained. "Amazing what people say when they think the help isn't listening." The SEC investigators exchanged glances. "Mr. Bradley, we're going to need you to come with us." "You can't," Samantha started. "Actually, they can." Landon handed her a document. "And this is a restraining order. You're no longer allowed on company property." "You planned this," she whispered, "or all of it." "No, you planned it." I stood up. "Every time you belittled me, every time you flaunted your power, you were just giving me more ammunition." "Emily," Bradley's voice cracked, "we're family." "Family?" I laughed. "Family doesn't destroy each other. Well, usually. Consider this a lesson in karma." As security escorted them out, Gillian lingered. "What about me?" "That depends." I studied her. "What were you really coming to tell me?" She glanced at the SEC investigators, then back at me. They were planning to destroy evidence. Bradley has a hidden safe in his summer house." "I know." I smiled. "It's already been seized. But thank you for finally choosing the right side." After everyone left, Landon stayed behind. "That was quite a show." "It's not over." I checked my phone. "Reed's lawyer just sent a counter-offer for the divorce settlement." "What are you going to do?" "What I always do." I picked up my coat. "Stay 3 steps ahead. Schedule a press conference for tomorrow. It's time to announce the company's new direction." "And the family?" I paused at the door. They taught me everything I know about business, about power, about family. Now they can learn their final lesson, which is never underestimate the person you think is beneath you. I smiled. They might just end up owning everything you have. As I walked out, my phone buzzed with a text from Reed. My father's being questioned by the SEC. Is this what you wanted? I typed back, no. What I wanted was respect. What they're getting is justice. Then I turned off my phone and headed to my next meeting. The day wasn't over yet, and neither was my plan. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when I arrived. Bradley and Patricia stood with their lawyers, their designer clothes unable to hide their defeat. Samantha huddled nearby, sunglasses hiding what I assumed were tears. Emily! A reporter shoved a microphone in my face. Any comment on the SEC investigation? Justice comes in many forms, I replied, walking past them. Inside, Reed sat with his family. He looked tired, older somehow. Our eyes met briefly before Landon touched my arm. They're ready for us, he whispered. The judge entered and everyone rose. I could feel Patricia's glare burning into my back. Your Honour, Bradley's lawyer began, my clients contest the legitimacy of these business transactions. Mrs. Emily clearly manipulated. Objection, Landon interrupted. We have documented proof of every transaction, all legally executed. Approach the bench, the judge ordered. As the lawyers huddled forward, Samantha leaned forward from her seat. You must be so proud of yourself, she hissed, destroying a family legacy. You destroyed it yourselves, I whispered back. I just exposed the rot. Order, the judge called out. Having reviewed the evidence, I'm prepared to rule. The room fell silent. I could hear Patricia's rapid breathing behind me. The court finds no irregularities in the business acquisition. Furthermore, the evidence of previous management's misconduct is overwhelming. Mr. Bradley, you're hereby ordered to surrender all remaining company documents and assets. This is outrageous. Bradley stood up. Your Honour, this company has been in my family for... Sit down, Mr. Bradley, the judge warned, unless you'd like to discuss the SEC violations in detail. Bradley collapsed back into his chair. Patricia began to sob. Additionally, the judge continued, the restraining orders against Mrs. Samantha and Mrs. Patricia will remain in effect. You are not to contact Mrs. Emily or enter any company properties. Landon handed me a note. Press waiting outside. Ready? I nodded, standing as the judge concluded the hearing. Reed caught up to me in the hallway. Emily, wait. He grabbed my hand. Can we talk? Please? About what? I pulled away. How you're still defending them. How you watched them tear me down for years. I was wrong, he said quietly. I see that now. Now? I laughed bitterly. Now that they've lost everything. Now that your comfortable world is gone? No. He ran his hands through his hair. Now that I see how strong you really are. How blind I was. Before I could respond, Samantha's voice rang out. You bitch! You've ruined everything! She lunged at me, but security intercepted her. As they dragged her away, she screamed, We made you! You were nothing before us! No! I called after her. You broke me, and in breaking me, you created this version of yourself. Outside, the media circus waited. Cameras flashed as Bradley and Patricia hurried to their car. Not the usual luxury vehicle, I noticed, but a modest sedan. Mrs. Emily! Reporters shouted. What's next for the company? I stepped up to the microphones. Today marks a new chapter. The company will be restructured, focusing on ethical business practices and employee welfare. The era of nepotism and corruption is over. And what about your marriage? Someone called out. I looked at Reed, who stood at the edges of the crowd. Some things can't be fixed once they're broken, just like trust. Back at the office, Landon reviewed the aftermath. Stock's up 15%. The board's fully behind your leadership and... Patricia's been admitted to the hospital again? Stress. I sat down heavily in my chair. Send flowers. White lilies. She always hated them. Feeling merciful? No. I smiled, just finishing what they started. They taught me everything about power, remember? My phone buzzed. A text from Gillian. They're saying Bradley might face criminal charges. Is there anything you can do? I typed back. There was, 5 years ago. They chose differently. Landon cleared his throat. One more thing. Reed's lawyer sent over the signed divorce papers. I opened the envelope. There, on the last page, Reed's signature. Below it, a handwritten note. I'm sorry I never stood up for you. You deserved better. File them, I told Landon, and schedule a board meeting for tomorrow. It's time to rebuild this company the right way. As the sun set over the city, I stood at my office window. Below, I could see Bradley's car still in the parking lot, him sitting alone inside. Once, that sight might have moved me to pity. Now, it just reminded me of how far I'd come. My phone buzzed one last time. Reed again. Was it worth it? All of this? I looked at the empire I'd taken, the family I'd broken, the justice I'd served. Yes, I typed back. Every single moment. Then I turned back to my desk. There was still work to do, a company to run, and a legacy to build. My own this time, not theirs. The autumn wind scattered leaves across the estate's driveway as I supervised the movers. Patricia's precious antiques were being donated to museums, Bradley's rare book collection to universities. The house would become a corporate retreat centre. Fitting, since it was company property all along. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Bradley pleads guilty to securities fraud. Mrs. Emily? One of the movers held up the handmade photo album I'd given Patricia. Found this in the trash. Should we salvage it? Yes. I took it, running my fingers over the leather cover. Put it in my office. Emily? A familiar voice made me turn. Reed stood there looking uncomfortable in casual clothes. I heard you were here today. Final clean-up, I explained. Your mother's things are being packed for storage. She can collect them when she's released from the hospital. That's kind of you. It's business, I corrected. Everything's inventoried and documented. A sleek car pulled up and Samantha stepped out. She'd lost weight and her designer clothes had been replaced by department store basics. Still here? She tried for her old sneer, but it fell flat. Coming to gloat? Actually, I held out an envelope. I came to give you this. She opened it suspiciously. A job offer? Entry-level position at one of our subsidiaries. No special treatment. No family connections. Just work. Why would you do this? Because, unlike you, I understand the difference between revenge and cruelty. I turned to the house. You can earn your way back up, if you're willing to work for it. Reed stepped closer. Emily, I've been thinking, don't. I held up my hand. We both know it's too late for that. Is it? He pulled out a familiar leather-bound book. I found my copy of your album, actually looked at it this time. And I realised something. You captured everything, every family moment, every celebration. You were always there, always trying. We were the ones who weren't. Samantha sniffed. So what? We're supposed to apologise and everything goes back to normal? Nothing goes back to normal, I said. But maybe something new can start. Take the job offer, Samantha. Prove you're more than your last name. A town car pulled up and Landon stepped out. Emily, the board is waiting. We need to discuss the restructuring. Of course. I turned to leave, then paused. Reed, tell your mother I'll have her medical bills covered. Not for her, for the person I used to be, the one who believed in family. And what about us? He asked quietly. There is no us anymore, but maybe someday there can be peace. I handed him the photo album from the trash. Keep this. Remember why it happened, not just what happened. As I walked to the car, Samantha called out, "When do I start? The job, I mean." "Monday, don't be late," I smiled slightly. "And Samantha, no Birkin bags in the office." In the car, Landon reviewed the day's agenda. "The press wants to know if you'll keep the family name on the building." "No." I look back at the estate growing smaller in the distance. New name, new legacy, new story. Speaking of story, he handed me a newspaper. They're calling you the Queen of Corporate Revenge now. They're wrong. I closed the photo album still in my lap. This was never about revenge. It was about justice, about consequences, about breaking a cycle of toxicity. My phone lit up with a text from Gillian. "Took your advice. Starting my own business. Small, but mine." Then another from Reed. "You were right. About everything. I'm sorry it took losing you to see it." Finally, one from Patricia. "The lilies, white ones, you remembered I hate them." I typed back to Patricia. "Yes, just like you remembered every way to hurt me. The difference is, I learned from it." The car stopped at the office building. My building now. The sign crews were already removing the old family name. "Ready?" Landon asked. I looked at the photo album one last time before placing it in my briefcase. Yes, it's time to build something better. And the family? They'll survive. I stepped out into the sunlight. Maybe they'll even learn something, but that's not my story anymore. As I walked into the building, employees nodded respectfully. Not out of fear like they had with Bradley, but with genuine regard. I'd earned this every step of the way. My phone buzzed one final time. "Samantha, thank you for the chance. I won't waste it." I smiled, putting the phone away. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's growing strong enough to break the cycle, wise enough to offer grace, and brave enough to write your own story. The old empire was gone, but something better would rise in its place. Something built on merit, not malice, on strength, not superiority. Something that was entirely mine.